My opponent, Jimmy Panetta, is the son of one-time CIA Director Leon Panetta. And he's expressing concern that this war was not authorized by Congress, making it an illegal war, implying that our bombing of elementary schools, apartment buildings, and civilian infrastructure would be okay if only Congress approved. I I disagree with that wholeheartedly, and that's why I'm asking for your vote on June 2nd. I'm a dad, a husband, and a longtime advocate and activist for a just society. I actually decided to run full bore 3 years ago when I witnessed our government act as a co-belligerent in the genocide in Gaza. And I am equally appalled by what's happening in Iran. And I have news for Mr. Panetta. There are no legal wars of aggression. And that's something that we don't talk about enough in America. It, Even if a war of aggression is approved by Congress, that still violates the UN Charter, which we ratified after World War II. And what's happening in Iran is not a war, it's a one-sided bombardment. US cities are not at risk, while Iran is being subjected to a Gaza-style obliteration. It's only the Iranian people who are being devastated by our president, who openly threatens the total destruction of a civilization. He openly threatens genocide. Now, I can say this because my candidacy is not sponsored by so-called defense contractors, which is a euphemism for weapons manufacturers. I'm also not supported by the oil lobby, whose interests seem only to be more profits for the wealthy, while the lives of innocents and the survival of the planet can be damned. My opponent, as I think a lot of you know, is financed by these groups and many others to the tune of millions of dollars every campaign cycle, and he votes accordingly. I can pledge right here, right now, not to vote in favor of any war spending as your next representative. I also pledge to use whatever means necessary to wrest the war powers back into the hands of Congress where they belong and out of the hands of this rogue president and any future president who does not respect and abide by the Constitution. I'll support the impeachment and removal of members of the Trump regime, including Trump himself, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Defense Secretary Hegseth. Uh, the costs of this war in Iran are eviscerating our society, and by that I mean our people, our neighbors. A budget is a moral document, and the U.S. budget is heavy with weapons of mass destruction. As good citizens, I'm sure you all just paid your federal taxes a few days ago. And I don't think any of us believe that those taxes should be going towards the destruction of another civilization. Um, our campaign recently screened a film called Earth's Greatest Enemy. And if you saw that, you know, war isn't good for the planet. Our military is the largest institutional polluter in the world, depriving our children and future generations of a habitable planet. Um, Jimmy Panetta cannot claim ignorance on the subject of how our taxes are raised and spent. He's on the powerful House Ways and Means Committee. And despite that innocuous name, it has its hands on everything. It acts on tax policy, tariffs, trade agreements, and has oversight over Social Security, Medicare, and unemployment benefits. And they've stood by as Trump has mangled the former and gutted the latter. Panetta and his fellow establishment tools have stood by and allowed congressional powers to be usurped by Trump's evil empire. In fact, they've paved the way for it. And I've got news for Jimmy Panetta. There is a new progressive wave coming. I think you all are aware of that. It's sweeping out these APAC-backed candidates like Jimmy Panetta. And it's ready to sweep away the old guard that is complicit in warmongering and oligarchy. And taking out Jimmy Panetta is a first step in getting rid of Trump and his cronies. Panetta had his chance to stand up to Trump and he didn't take it. So the time has come for the people of California's Central Coast to send a representative to Congress who will put peace first. And I humbly ask for your vote on June 2nd. So that was Sean Doherty giving prepared remarks, which never happens. People, I'm usually an off-the-cuff speaker, and my campaign's like, "Stop doing that, Sean." Prepared remarks. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody. So, Ashley, what are we doing now with? Oh, Danilyn Taylor. Oh, cool.
Let
So,
me let me share the clip from
oh
this
yeah,
morning.
okay.
Yeah,
Have we heard from Justin yet? Like, his plane has landed. Do we know if his plane has landed?
that's my understanding.
Cool. This
So
is the perfect way to conduct a live stream. Counting on
yes.
someone landing a plane.
Well, I do think what they did was very, very brave,
Abs
and
100%.
I
That's
would,
right. That's why we were willing to like take that kind of risk in
yeah,
running that
and
live.
also
Yeah.
right here from the district. So let me share just a news clip real quick, just to catch everybody up if you haven't seen
Okay.
the news about what happened with the veterans yesterday. Let's put this on. Here we go. Pretty quick here.
Friends and their family members were arrested Monday as they non-violently occupied the Cannon House office building to protest the U.S. and Israeli war on Iran while demanding a meeting with House Speaker Mike Johnson. At least 62 people were arrested, including elderly and disabled activists. Those protests continued. The protests were organized by a coalition that included About Face, Veterans for Peace, Common Defense, and military families speak out. This is Christina Sarson, a U.S. Army veteran from Pennsylvania.
Personally, I'm here for my sons. As a veteran, I know the harm that wars do to civilian populations, but also to our soldiers. I'm talking about the loss of life. I'm talking about injuries and lives changed forever. I'm talking about PTSD and moral injury, and that's why I'm here today.
Straight off the plane. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sean, and everybody. Really happy to be here. Colleen, thank you. Well, I just got off the plane directly from DC, DCA. Um, it was an incredible experience. My first time ever getting arrested, and so I was really nervous about that, but it was exciting. I I took a red eye. I couldn't be there on a Sunday when everyone was gathering up beforehand. And I took a red eye Sunday evening. I landed at 7 in the morning and went straight to the staging location, which was at a church. And we had a good breakfast together with everybody. And then we started running a couple of drills just to go through the motions with everything, make sure we're all ready to go. Um, Part of it was to make sure that we didn't tip off the guards as we were all going in. So we had to bring a sweater or a jacket over our BDU blouses, battle dress uniforms they call them, BDUs. And so we all kind of checked each other, make sure nothing was showing through the collars, and they couldn't tell that we had our uniforms on underneath our jackets. And we broke up into teams. I joined what's called the red team. This is my first time ever joining a red team, and since 2016, um, I've I joined VFP in 2016, and since then, I always knew that there might be a time where I had to put my body on the line in Veterans for Peace. That's what I learned about our organization. We're activists, and literally, in our chapter, Phil Butler, in the 80s, he sat in front of a tank in on the at the Monterey Fourth of July parade. And so I learned that, and I'm like, okay, man, these guys are the real deal, and real activists, and are serious about their anti-war work. And so I knew going into it at some point this was going to happen, and I just didn't want it to be for nothing, and I wanted to make sure it was a strategic opportunity. and this was that opportunity for me. And so I was on a red team, and we practiced and we prepped. We fell in line beforehand, and went through all the motions. And then we started to go into the cannon building. We all started walking over in different groups, spaced out from each other, at least 5 minutes apart, just to make it nobody was going together. And we actually probably didn't need to do that because of how busy it was in the Cannon House, which is the House of Representatives, and or where the House of Representatives reside. And because there was a ton of people, like tourists and people coming in and out, so there was no way they could tell our group from other groups, which I thought was really smart of us to do it that way. And so we got in my group. We were staging. Our group was gonna wait in the chow hall or the cafeteria, and so we went there first, and which was really a great idea because I hadn't had any coffee since I got off that flight, so I got a coffee. It was perfect. So we were sitting around waiting and talking, and just I felt the anticipation just building while we were sitting there, and then he got the word. Our leader, our team lead, got the word, and we followed him. We went up to the rotunda. As we were walking up, I looked and I saw Jimmy Panetta's door, and I didn't knock on it. I actually reached out to them in advance to see if he would join me out at the protest, and I can tell you a little bit more about that situation in a minute. And then we went out to the rotunda, quiet. Everyone went around the sides as tourists until they gave us the word. And as soon as they gave us the word, we all started pulling off our jackets. And as soon as we did that, I already heard the police officers starting to call it in, saying that there's a protest happening. So I knew immediately like they were coming down quick. And so we got out there, formed up, and the cops came right out. And within like 1 minute, they declared it an illegal protest or an illegal forgot the exact word to vacate the area. But within 1 minute, they didn't even let the military families finish what they were saying before they interrupted them so disrespectfully and started arresting everybody. And they were on their loudspeaker that was blaring, and it was just very, very rude. And we folded the flag for the fallen service members in Iran. We also all held tulips, red tulips for the fallen Iranians as well to honor them at the same time. And we Veterans for Peace executive director mentioned a speech. He finished by asking Ryan Johnson to come out and accept the flag and to hear our demands to stop the war and to put it up for a vote in Congress. And obviously, he didn't come out and take the flag. And the officers started arresting people from the front and the sides and the back and the sides. And while it was all happening, we kept the chants going really loud and strong, and then we were all taken out of there one by one, slowly, or two by two, actually, to the outside. And while we were out there, some really interesting things happened too, actually. For one, we kept chanting, and some officer there yelled, "If you keep chanting, you're going to get additional charges." And so, when I heard that, I wasn't sure about if that was even possible or not, if that was a legit order. Didn't sound like it was, but I didn't want to keep pushing it. A couple others did, but we ended up finding out later that it was an unenforceable demand that they were asking for us to do. We didn't actually have to stop chanting. And while we were out there, my officer was kind of profound because they were all broken up into different officers to handle like groups of people. My officer, he said under his breath to me, he's like, "I support you guys." He said it quietly. And he said, "I'm in the military and I'm getting out in 1 year. I decided I'm going to get out and I really support you guys." And I thought that was very powerful. And I let him know that we're there for him and that if he wanted to reach out for resources, that we were there for him. And even other officers who were, you can tell were in the military, they were very sympathetic and they were very professional and treated us with a lot of respect. Although, and we did not get brutalized. And although a couple of people had an officer that were pretty forceful. They wrapped their hands really tight in the wire wraps. One person was one veteran I spoke with afterwards said that he was just manhandled. They went through his, he had really long hair. They went through his hair really, really carefully and pulled it apart. And then they checked all of his private areas a lot and up and down and things like that. And they rolled up his shirt to show his whole chest and they left it up and it was just they were kind of embarrassing him. But for the most part, other than that one officer, it was when we were taken back to the mass arrest area. It was a lot of camaraderie. We were all laughing with each other. We were hugging. Some people were crying and smiling. And I heard previously that the police officers didn't allow that to happen. And so I guess there was some kind of change there. And and then after the event, we noticed that the videos were starting to go viral. We were all so excited, and we all met one last time to end strong and to leave us off with a call to action, which is going to be in for the 250th anniversary of the United States in Philly. We're going to be out there again, and we hope to have 5 times the number of veterans out there. And we're thinking they're planning and organizing something similar to what we did here or in DC at the Rotunda. I think that's it in a nutshell. From my experience, my recollection, it was the craziest thing ever in my mind. Um, any any reactions, Sean, or questions?
Well, I mean, Justin, first of all, thank you for your dissidence. Thank you for protecting the Constitution, defending the Constitution. That was a very patriotic act.
Thank you.
So I guess I really have two questions, and you can answer either. First, you said that you've never done anything like this before. You've never gotten arrested before. So actually, let's start with that. Like, why did you go to such great lengths? I mean, I can't imagine that that was a cheap plane ticket. I imagine it was kind of last minute that you bought it. So it was a great financial sacrifice that you did that, and then knowing that you were most certainly going to be arrested. You know what? And I know that. Like I've seen you at protests against the Iran war here in my city, so I know that you're going around the congressional district. This is obviously a really big deal to you. And do you want to talk about why that is?
Yeah. Um, I when I first joined VFP, that was what actually that was a big thing that attracted me, just seeing how serious the veterans were taking um, the horrible situation that we're in, our militarism, and trying to tackle it head on by putting their bodies on the line and continuing their oath. You know, I didn't think about it until I saw how veterans, even after they got out of the military, were continuing their oath to defend our Constitution and our country. And that was really inspiring. So I kind of knew going into it that it might happen at some point, and I was always really worried about it because if you get, felonies are no joke. And I did not get one. And I can tell you exactly what kind of citation I got, and it was a calculated, intentional um, outcome that we achieved. Um, but you're really risking your family and your career sometimes, and it's very expensive for lawyers. So I knew that it was very serious, and um, I wanted it to be. I knew that I was going to do it, and I wanted it to be a strategic time. I wanted it to be a time where it's not going to just be for nothing, and that we get something out of it if I'm going to put myself at risk like that. So I think that was really driving me. Just that drive to be in a group that is willing to put themselves on the line for what we stand for and what we believe in strongly. In this case, it was about 3 weeks in advance when I decided that I knew I was gonna go ahead and be arrested because I joined a couple of organizing meetings and people were asking questions about getting arrested, like what are the legal ramifications? Like how bad could it get, or how not bad could it get? And They could never we could never promise any outcome, but as long as we stayed peaceful, not resist arrest, and follow their directions, and where we were at in that building, we would get a citation and for incommoding, for basically blocking a walkway, essentially, and and a $50 fine if you agree to admit and forfeit your right to a court date. So you could choose to do a court date and you open up a bunch of risk, or you can choose to take a $50 fine and admit guilt and take a citation for incommoding. And so it was planned in advance that that was going to be what we were aiming for, and that's what we achieved. That's what everyone got. There was one veteran who got pushed by an officer. He fell, and he kind of got in the officer's face, and so he actually ended up getting taken. He got taken overnight. He was the only one that got taken overnight. I just found out about an hour ago he was released with no charges. They dropped all the charges for him as well. But I think that was where my head was at. And this was a strategic. I mean, strategy is so important to me, and I knew that this was the moment that I wanted to participate in, because I knew how the organizers were thinking about the outcome that we wanted to achieve was to raise awareness globally. We knew that this was going to be a global conversation. We're starting. We wanted to do that, and we really needed to reach active duty members. And this was a
Mm.
well, choreographed. I'll put it like that. Well planned activist action.
So that was actually my next question, is like who was your target? Who were you trying to reach through this protest? And I know you've gotten a lot of coverage, like we just showed a segment from Democracy Now!, so it was widely covered, but who were you hoping to influence primarily with this?
Active duty members. And because there's a good reason. And we actually had active duty members with us. We had guard members with us that are still serving right now, that were there with us. But active duty and the guard are who we're targeting right now, because we identify most as veterans with them. And because as Trump consolidates power, he's trying to consolidate his authoritarian power and is setting up his infrastructure. Who are the ones making that happen? The people on the front lines, veterans. He's using veterans and the military service to achieve his authoritarian outcomes.
Mm.
So if we influence them, then we may have a chance of not stopping but slowing down the authoritarian consolidation, which may give us enough time to resist in our communities to a point where maybe we can reverse the trend of authoritarianism in our country.
Well,
Think that
so
would
let
be
me
fun.
ask, what would you ask those active members to do? Like, for example, disobey illegal orders? Is that basically what the ask is?
Disobey illegal orders. Yes,
Yeah.
and to follow their conscience. There's avenues to become conscientious objectors, COs, and we had plenty of those that were out there with us too. There's safe avenues for them to get out of the military or be pulled from a situation that they believe is unethical in their mind. And the UCMJ, the United Code of Military Justice, plainly says that they have to disobey illegal orders. It's really hard, though, to know when there is an illegal order or not, and you're putting yourself at huge risk. They're taking huge risks. So we're trying to give them resources at the same time, which we have been directing them to.
So what would you ask those of us who are not veterans to
Mhm.
do? Is there any way that we can help with this effort, or is there some kind of like sister effort that we should join?
Um, Absolutely. There's a lot you can do. I think I think jumping and continuing to encourage service members to follow their conscience is an easy thing to do um, by sharing the information online. Veterans for Peace is going to the Naval Postgraduate School once a month to meet them at the gate as they're leaving base, and we're giving them information and resources. We're also encouraging them and not berating them or harassing them,
Right.
and making them feel encouraged. so that they can speak up. And I have heard that those veterans on Naval Postgraduate School, we've reached them. They know we're there every month now, and they appreciate us. There's many that hold their hand up in fists, in peace signs, in
No kidding.
support.
Wow.
Couple, couple of birds here and there, but nothing. A lot less than I would have expected. That's for sure. There's a huge amount that actually support it. So that's one way that we all can help. And another, also defense contractors, they also need to be educated and to help them follow their
You mean
conscience.
like
And so meeting them
employees,
where they're at.
like employees of like we've got Lockheed here around the Santa Cruz area,
Exactly. Let's go in front of Lockheed.
right?
Let's go there and stand there and help encourage them and help them wake up. I think that's a good way to do it too.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
yeah.
mhm. And then I think another way would be uh, voting for you as an anti-war candidate. Um, since
Yeah, actually, so well,
we know
thank
our
you.
current
Love that.
representative.
But that gets to a question that I wanted to ask you. Yes, of course. I love hearing you say that. But you said in your initial remarks that you had reached out to Jimmy Panetta. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, what did you try to say? What did you say to him, and did you get anything back in response to that?
I reached out a week in advance and I mentioned I was going to be out there for a protest against the Iran war. I didn't say the specifics because actually in the organizing group that we were in, it was very tight-lipped. We didn't want to tip off anybody
Hmm.
and we kept it very internal. Didn't want to mention like what we were going to do or where or anything like that or the time. But I reached out in a week in advance and I asked if he would join me and us at the protest and I told them around the time it was. The response I got was that he wasn't showing up until a little later that day. He was flying in a little bit later. So, I guess you can't do anything about that. But his staff knew that we were going to be there as well. And I passed by his door and I did not realize how close their door is to the rotunda. It's literally feet from the rotunda. You
Hmm.
can see the rotunda from his office. And um, the very next day I called the chief of staff and I asked like, hey, did you guys hear about what happened? I actually that day, excuse me, that day, later that day, I called and I asked, hey, did you hear what happened? He's like, what happened in the rotunda in Cannon House? He's like, that's where our office is. I said, yes. Did you hear about it? And he said, we did hear about it. And I said, okay. Well, that was the one I was telling you about. That was the one I really wanted you guys to come and join and support us. And unfortunately, they did not even take the time to step out there and support us. And it was
Hmm.
only feet away, which I thought that was kind of telling. I invited them to be out there and support.
Right. Well, and you've
Mhm.
been in communication with his staff, and I think even Panetta himself about the Iran war, haven't you? Like when he was initially like co-sponsoring that terrible bipartisan war powers resolution that was giving Trump 30 days to proceed with the military action. You were in communication with him during that time, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I got the call to action in one of the groups that we're in to try to get him to sign and to support the War Powers Resolution, the one that Rohana introduced, and uh, he explained to me that it was essentially the way it is, like realpolitik. To get something passed, you have to make deals, and that was what was explained to me. It was that was the process. There was no way that they would vote for Rakhana's, so he decided to try to work with people to get one passed that he think could be passed and not be rigid around supporting one bill that he knew wouldn't get passed in his mind. That's what it was told to me in those
But
conversations.
he backed off his support of that. So
He, mm,
he's changed tact, right? Like he got a lot of pushback from his constituents, is my read of it. Well, let me ask you, like, what did you make of that explanation? Did you buy that?
at first I did until I got educated by the group that I'm in, and it was really well explained that it didn't have to go down that route. He really could have supported the Rohana bill, and he should have, in my mind, after in hindsight. So it's really, politicians are very good at communicating and pivoting in ways that it's hard to understand exactly what they're saying. So, but I'm learning to see through it, and I do see that he got me to understand it in the way that he wanted me to understand. But I see clearly now that he could have supported that first one in my mind.
So I think we're going to open up the floor to questions from the audience, but before we do that, are there
Yeah.
any like websites or social media accounts that you would want to direct people to?
Veterans for Peace, um, our website, vfp.org, and also About Face Veterans Against the War. That's our sister organization. They they actually started from within Veterans for Peace as a working group. They split off, and they created another organization, and we work really closely together. I highly recommend following them. They're very organized and strategic, and I have a lot of young veterans and a lot of energy. So keep an eye on them, I would say.
Great.
Yeah, any
So
questions?
yeah. Do we have any questions from the audience?
It
Any?
does look like a couple came in. Jessa in the chat asked, I haven't seen anything from IAVA. I'm not familiar. Are they not doing anything from activism against wars? Is it just about supporting the vets themselves? Maybe you can give
I
some context for me too.
I can, yeah. IAVA is actually About Face now. They rebranded. So they're now named About Face. Yep. Iraq Veterans Against the War. I think that's what it was. And is what they started out as. But then they realized they were like, well, now we're gonna have to create an organization for every war that keeps coming, right? Iran Veterans Against the War and so on. So they rebranded About Face Veterans Against the War. Great group. Great group.
Yeah, that's insane that we have to think about scaling our activist groups. That's wild. Rick says, please discuss the synergy between direct action and electoral politics and how the two can be used in conjunction to create a Congress that has a peace-centered approach to foreign policy.
Hmm.
Yeah,
You want to take
so
that, Justin, or do you want me to?
You can. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, I feel like we're in an event right now that's doing something like that. We had Justin performing his direct action, his act of civil disobedience, which got a lot of media attention and hopefully is going to help with raising awareness within our district. And we're gonna clip out some of his remarks, I'm sure, and put on social media, and that's going to help to educate people in the district about Panetta's position that even if the Congress authorizes it, it's still in violation of international law to commit a war of aggression. But anyway, so I see direct action as a way of like coalition building, awareness raising, and hopefully it can collaborate with political campaigns. Like that's what we're doing. We're seeing a lot of collaboration between anti-war and pro-Palestine groups with our campaign. And so hopefully you can get that grassroots support. Because if you don't take the dirty money from Lockheed or from APAC, then you have to get power from somewhere else, and that has to be from the grassroots, and that gets built up through the direct action. So that's where my thinking goes.
Yeah.
yes, we want the influence from the actual people and everybody on the ground. I see another question here. Should young men refuse to sign draft cards?
I'll let you take that,
Hmm.
Justin.
And is that a concern right now out there? I know we've seen kind of things floating around and rumors, but we kind of never know. What is your take?
There's this like auto enrollment, right? I thought
Yeah.
that is that
Auto
even an
enroll.
option to not sign a draft card at this point?
It's not anymore. It's auto enrolled, exactly. Um, this one's an interesting one because for me, I mean, I fully support anybody that would refuse. You know, again, they're taking a calculated risk to themselves by doing that, right? They have to think about the risk there. I don't know what the government can do if you don't sign that, but we need to think about that in advance, just like I thought in advance of this action. We all do, and need to take it, internalize it, and accept whatever our actions are going to produce. But I ever since the draft went away, um, I mean, from what I've read and what I've heard, there's no skin in the game in terms of people going and calling for wars and uh, supporting wars. I think that this automatic draft situation is probably going to get people to start thinking a little bit more like, oh shoot, I actually might have to get drafted now. I don't want to support this anymore. So I think it might actually help us um, uh, build more anti-war support and coalitions if there is a draft or threat of a draft, things like that.
Right.
How would you?
I immediately think about the Vietnam War and the opposition that we saw there when young Americans were being drafted. And so, yeah, it did cut across class lines, kind of. I know there were exceptions and there are ways for wealthy people to get out of it in particular. But yeah,
And
as
the
you said,
and the veterans and the veterans nowadays are professional soldiers. They sometimes they need a paycheck now, and they don't want to ruin their professional career for politics. So right now it prevents them from engaging in politics, I think. It really, whereas in the Vietnam era, when someone got drafted and they didn't want to be in there, they were just like, no, I'm going to protest this. It was an easy decision for some of them. Whereas now it's not as easy to attract active duty people. With the situation in Iran, it's really changing a lot of things in their perspective. Active duty. I learned a statistic from Mike Preisner, who was arrested with us. He was in IAVA at the very beginning. He threw his medals out there and everything. He's been in the movement for a long time. He is now the executive director of the Conscientious War Resisters Group, or I can't remember the exact name, but he's newly appointed. Before there was probably five CO applications in maybe like a half a year or a year. They're getting 400 CO conscientious observer applications now that the Iraq or the Iran war has started. They're getting them every day
400 per day.
per day. Hmm.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
So what we're doing is really having a good impact.
It,
The war is having its own impact, and we're amplifying that. And we're trying to reach people and
do,
give
do,
them an
do you,
avenue.
Do
Mhm.
you happen to know what did that look like in the beginning of the Iraq War, for example? Do we see anything like that? I know that's probably a reach, but
I'll find out. I'll
I'm
find out.
curious because I feel like there's a stronger reaction against this war by the military, the members of the military than in past wars. I don't know if I'm imagining that.
No, more wait, a much stronger reaction than I would have imagined. Um, I think everybody realizes that this war is futile, and there was nothing that they have done openly against the United States that caused
Right.
an imminent threat that required this level of response. I mean, there's probably a lot going on that we don't all know, like that's secret, literally.
Right.
Um, but diplomacy should have been the right way. I mean, Obama's plan. I told Jimmy this too. I said, hey, let's bring back that plan, the JPOA, because that actually got Iran to agree. And he said, I can't support that
Oh,
because it didn't allow for the proxy us to handle the proxies or something like that. That was what he said.
oh, he was
Um,
against the JCPOA. That's really interesting. I wonder if
he
he
said it
said
was
that
good.
publicly. Huh.
Yeah. Hmm.
Wow.
I don't know if he did or not,
We
but
got to look
that's
into
his
that actually.
position.
We got to find
Yeah.
out if he's publicly come out against the JCPOA because that was a very reasonable agreement, I would say.
And it was working.
And
I
it
mean,
was
it was
working.
working.
Yeah,
They were
absolutely.
diplomatic. There was no war needed. Obama, and it was, a situation where they still had enriched uranium, so it was still dangerous, but it wasn't. It was working out in going in the right direction, not going towards war.
Right. So
Yeah.
amongst the active military members, do you feel like that's the main problem that they have with this war is that it is such a clear act of aggression? I mean, the president didn't
Yeah.
even try to lie to us about why we were doing. I mean, maybe a little bit they lied about it, like we're trying to help the protesters or whatever, but it doesn't seem like they tried nearly as much as in past wars to put some kind of veneer on it of high ideals. Or is it
Yeah.
because it does seem just like so crass and just such a naked act of aggression, or is there other things as well?
I think that's it.
Yeah,
It's just like a yeah, uh, just a naked act of aggression. That's a good way to put it. And unnecessarily putting us in danger
right,
and wrecking the world economy at the same time, impacting the country. Yeah, I think that's just it. It's just so plain for them to see.
are you hearing concern about ground? Sorry, do we have other questions or from the audience? Let me just ask one question, and then we
Yeah.
can take an audience question. Are you hearing concern about ground operations? Are you hearing people express concern that's a real possibility? Like, I think that Trump just unilaterally extended the ceasefire by 24 hours or something, but it seems like we're on the verge of some kind of escalation.
Yeah, the veterans that I've spoken with believe that we're locked and loaded, for lack of a better words, to do a ground invasion. They see all the troop movements happening, and they know exactly what they're doing. They're preparing for that, and we can see it clear as day.
Yeah,
They can see it clear as day. I
right,
wasn't in. I worked as a mechanic in the Air Force and in command and control, so I wasn't privy to that type of troop movements and what exactly they mean. But from what I'm hearing from my comrades, it does seem like that's what they're preparing for, preparing to do something like that.
right.
And yeah, it's going to be a disaster if that happens.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Ashley, do you have another question from
I
the
have a
audience?
question actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
When it sounds like a lot of people try to reach Panetta, right? They're trying to have a conversation with him, and you've had those opportunities, and you've been able to say like, what you would want him to get behind. Has there ever like how I guess how would you work with somebody new? And what have you learned from those experiences trying to get through to like this, bought out, a representative that's not representing people? Like, yeah.
I actually have an answer for that because I've been talking to a lot of people about this. I appreciate that we have a open line of communication with Panetta um, as veterans, but I've been made aware that we don't donate hundreds of thousands of dollars, huge amount of money to him. We're not lobbyists. We're not getting as close to the influence as many other really rich organizations have and really rich people have with him. So I can't go on a moral basis to influence him to do what we're asking him to do. He's not going to do it because he has other influences. So what I've learned is with somebody new, um, we just got to hold their feet to the fire and just be straight up about what we really hate about what he's doing and not be as soft about it as I want to be because I want to be really nice and have a good relationship with people. But in this case, when it comes to our representative and as his constituent, we need to be as serious and as forceful as possible, I think. No, that's what I've learned. So, Sean, if you get elected, I'm still going to be as forceful as possible with you too. I'm
Great.
not going to let you off the hook either. None of us will, right? None of us on the call.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, well, just keep checking trackapac.com to see who's donating to me. Make sure I'm not taking any of the Israel lobby money. But uh, who have you heard anyone explain like who the most influential donors or lobbyists are for Panetta with respect to this particular issue with this war with foreign policy in the Middle East?
Well, I think there's the No, I haven't heard anything direct, but I just know about his APAC influence, and clearly the U.S. and Israel are together and collaborating, conspiring around this war with Iran, and there's a connection between Jimmy and APAC and Israel, and so there's something there that is really is just disturbing. So um, yeah, I think that's what I would say.
All right, we have another question. Murtaza asks, can you talk about how veterans perceive the impact of the Iran war on how China and other rival powers view the USA? We seem to have moved defensive weapons from South Korea to the Gulf. At the same time, China may perceive they have found advantages against the U.S. military.
Let me think for a second.
That's a good question too, because I do see a lot of legislation from Jimmy that's about competing with China. So
Yeah, well, we don't even have like the basic resources available to us to replenish our like interceptor missiles, for example. No, I mean, I hate to frame it that way, but I think we've been exposed to be very weak.
I've heard, and maybe we all probably heard this too, but the way that Trump is handling business, strong arming people, he's now opening it up for countries like China to also behave that way in their hemisphere, right? The whole Monroe Doctrine, the Trump Doctrine, or sorry, the Don Doctrine, I think they're calling it, or something like that.
Dunroe Doctrine, yeah.
Don Road Doctrine. That they use that as they loved it because he's basically cementing the idea that they control their hemisphere and we're moving into a multipolar world rather than a unipolar world, which sounds a lot more dangerous in my mind. But I think that's about as much as I know or can think of related to that
Well,
question.
you haven't really heard veterans talking about the geopolitics, the geostrategy of it. It's more about what we were talking about earlier, that they're just concerned that this is a war of aggression. They don't want to be part of this. They don't want to die for this cause they don't believe in. That's more what the veterans are concerned about, not
I would say
being
so.
weaker in comparison to China.
Yeah, I really love to get into geopolitical conversations. It's just hard to find people that want to actually keep to talk about it on that level, frankly. So we talk about the things that are on, the more concrete and in our face issues at the moment, not, more strategic or abstract concepts, geopolitical influence and things like that. So no, not yet, but I would like to, and maybe we can do something like that and have just good discussion, high level discussions around concepts like that. I
Yeah, we
would
should
love
have
to.
we should have a separate session that's just like the geopolitics
We should.
of the Iran war and Ukraine war. And
I'm on board.
can I bring all my research?
yeah, that sounds pretty fun.
Here's
Yeah.
all
I
that
actually love that stuff.
legislation.
I would love to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, we've only got a few
Yeah.
minutes left. So that was, by the way, Murtaza, that was a really fascinating question, and I would love to dig into that. Yeah, that's my jam. I listen to geopolitical analysis constantly on podcasts. Are there any other questions?
Doesn't look like it. If you want to close us out, remind us of where to go, Justin, and then Sean, you can
Oh,
send us off.
yeah, well, I realize like I have this r real terrible tendency as a candidate to be modest and to not tell people to donate money and to
Yeah,
not.
you hear
Well,
him. Yeah.
I don't like Justin was starting to like tell people to vote here. I was like, no, stop! You're embarrassing me.
Well, I think part of that too is the slogan is for the many, not the money. So it is kind of like a meld of thought when you say it out loud. But yeah,
So bad about that.
we are up against millions coming from these corporations and the PACs and the
Yeah, I'm
Ford
just
and
saying,
such and
Justin,
other
if you want to
things.
tell people
Yeah.
to vote for me without, I won't interrupt you this time.
Okay,
before
we'll do.
you leave.
Will do. Yeah, I fully support you, Sean. I have your sign out in front of my house, and I've already given a couple out to some neighbors. And I think you're the candidate that will definitely keep us out of war if you're ever in a position to do so. So I fully support you, and I hope if people can't volunteer for your campaign, I hope they'll give you a few bucks in support of your campaign, if they can't support directly help with canvassing and stuff like that.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And actually, we need to participate in. I meant to make it to that protest in front of the academy. What is it called? The postgraduate, the naval post. What is it called?
Yeah, Naval Postgraduate School. Yep, we're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be
yeah.
out. May 7th is the next one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
2:45 to 4 p.m.
Yeah, we gotta.
Out
We should
there.
do that. We should promote that. That
Would love
sounds really cool. That sounds really
love
cool.
to have you guys out there.
Yeah, that would be
Would love to
awesome. As
support.
a campaign, we
Thank you.
should promote that.
Mhm.
Sorry, Ash. Sorry, Ash. I'm sorry, Ashley. We'll discuss that later. I'll let my campaign manager tell me what we can do. But
Oh yeah, we got
you got time
Taylor
for
who
that?
works with us. She's down there as well. We actually
Okay,
do have it
cool.
on the calendar, so we can
Okay,
get a group
cool.
together for sure.
Cool. Okay,
I
great.
do believe that we're saving people's lives by what we're
Right.
doing out there because the
Absolutely.
officers will remember. Actually, I'll tell you really quickly. Roland Fletcher just passed away this last year. He was in our chapter. He's a founding member of our chapter here 30 years ago, and he told us all a story a couple years ago. He was in Vietnam, and he was told to kill anything that moved in this field that he was kind of monitoring. And he told us that there was many times where he had the opportunity to do it and he was supposed to do it and he did not do it because he was thinking about the
Mm,
people and he
yeah.
knew it was not right to kill these farmers and do war crimes. So when we speak to them, these officers are veterans. We are reaching them, and if we really get through to them, they will remember that when they're in times of death, life and death. So I highly encourage us to do that.
Cool. All right. Well, I would love for our campaign to participate in that, and maybe we can, outside of this, get some guidance from you on messaging, like to give people some guidance on what kind of signs they should bring, because we're trying to be
Okay.
persuasive, right?
Yeah.
Not like insulting, right? So,
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Sean and Ashley.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you,
you so
Justin.
much.
This is amazing. I have such profound respect for what you've done. That thank you so much, and I
Absolutely.
look forward to
Pleasure.
continuing to collaborate.
My pleasure.
Great. Thank you.
All
Get
right.
some rest.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
all.
much.
Bye,
Thank you for all
everyone.
those who joined. Appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.